We hope you were able to catch one of the breakout sessions or live Q&As, or even had a chance to check out the expo hall.
I find that the hardest part of attending Ansible Fest is having to actually decide on what sessions to attend. You know I don't like to choose, and you know I want to be part of everything.
Yeah, we know.
Sorry, can't help myself. What I love about Ansible Fest is that we're breaking down barriers, executing our content in a whole new environment. You might even say that we're meshing things together.
I guess so, Walter. That's a pretty weird way of putting it.
I know. I was just trying to sneak in a segue as to what's coming up.
Oh, okay, so I got it. You're going to be doing a couple of keynotes on automation mesh
And
execution environments.
you got it.
All right.
Absolutely. Our next customer spotlight is going to take us to new heights. It's going to have us feeling like we're flying or even soaring.
Walter, what are you talking about?
Our next customer spotlight.
Okay,
It's United Airlines. You get it?
I got it. All right.
New heights, soaring, maybe even flying. I wonder if they'll let me talk to them about my Mileage Plus status.
It's the IT infrastructure team, Walter, not
Okay.
the Mileage Plus team. All right. United Airlines is coming right up to talk about how automation is changing the way they operate. And after that, Walter will be back to talk about execution environments, automation mesh, and Ansible content tools.
Hello, welcome to the session Automating the Friendly Skies. I am your host, Devi Sankar. I have worked for United Airlines for the past 21 years. I have been in several positions with United. I am currently working as a principal engineer supporting Linux operating systems. Most of the Unix Linux admins don't like doing things repetitive, so they write scripts. My journey of automation started when I stopped manually doing the same thing in a server and start writing scripts to make life easier. I have a team of 12 people who supports 5,000 Linux servers hosting multiple applications. Our primary business vision is to become the largest and most customer-focused airline. 2020 was a challenging year for our business. Our team had to make several changes to meet business needs in short time, and automation played a key role. As COVID challenged us, our team didn't shy away. One of the biggest challenges was to make the changes quickly to the business demand. Travel Ready Center was one of them. We have an application called Raven. Raven sends notifications to the Travel Ready Center via email, SMS, and mobile team displays this information on our mobile app to the customers. We had to quickly grow Raven environment to the business demand. Ansible playbooks were the key in delivering these servers in time for the application rollout. Here, we are talking about the infrastructure and the business growth. Think out of the box was the year of 2020. Employee headcounts were capped, but workloads are growing, so automation is the key. The challenging year of 2020 made the team think of more efficient ways to deliver systems using Ansible. Companies started rolling out Ansible 2 to 3 years ago. It was our first configuration management tool in the open space. Ansible is really easy to use. It's agentless, so it's easy to start for the whole environment. Faster server customization. This was the key for the application rollout and release. With scripts ready in Ansible Tower, the team can customize server in an hour instead of a week using the same staff. Linux server build certification used to be manual. Now, all of the tasks like checking agents, fixing DNS, checking the syslog format, checking IP, and the host names are all automated. Faster server patching was one of the other major goal of 2020. Out of the 5,000 servers in the environment, 4,000 are virtual and the rest of them are physical with Veritas clusters. It was a challenging year for the team and the business to take multiple outages and patch manually. With the help of Ansible, we automated several tasks. So less attention, the platform is more stable and less night work for the team. This helped us in dramatically increasing the patching cadence to address security vulnerabilities and threats as they arise. Patching one server used to take 30 minutes. Now the same work, like snapshot, war directory cleanup, patching with yum and reboot, all in one playbook, and can patch multiple application servers using Ansible support for parallelism. Time management on patching is also better with automation. Finding more opportunity to simplify this process, Ansible is slowly getting adapted by other teams too. Some of the work in progress with other application teams and DBAs are end-to-end application deployment and configuration with the package, SQL server clusters, first venture into Windows with Ansible, collecting data across 5,000 servers or anything that needs to be done on more than one server, like changing the DNS, NTP, network switches, etc., increasing the virtual machines, CPU and RAM, GitHub integration. Faster onboarding, new employees take time and resource. We had to add their accounts in all sudoers group, train them for multiple environments. We used to manually add new users to correct groups, provide them with the right sudoers access, size, and credentials, which delayed the training process. Now it's all easier. We can use an Ansible playbook and add a new user quickly just in one day. Training for patching and recurring alerts also used to take longer. But now we show the new person the manual patching process for 2 weeks, then give them the Ansible script for patching. Our training period shrunk to 1 month as most of the recurring workloads are automated. Having a solid foundation with Ansible Automation Platform, now we are ready to move to bigger and faster automation at a scale. To continue supporting the mobile app team and others at United who rely on technology tools, resources we provide. For the future of automation in United Airlines, what is next? As we are started to discover the benefits of configuration management and automation with Ansible, beyond patching, release cadence, things we are working towards are automating technology solutions for operations, security compliances like firewalls, NetApp storage, patching physical servers in addition to VMs, integrating Ansible with the server provisioning process to accelerate the end-to-end server deployment. Thank you for listening to our journey with Ansible. Hope my experience helped your organization.
Like United, who we just heard from, we know many of you are interested in how you can scale automation at your organization, possibly with the team you already have today. You might have multiple virtual environments or a lot of dependencies, or maybe your automation content creators and admins don't work closely together on the same team. With Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform 2.1, we're introducing a new architecture that will extend where and how you run your automation, whether it be on-premise, out in your clouds, or at the edge, by taking advantage of the responsiveness and adaptability of container technology. This new architecture consists of automation execution environments, which include not just the execution engine, but also all of the components for cloud-native automation. Execution environments package collections, libraries, and minimal Ansible, that's Ansible core, to run in a single container that's ready for bare metal, virtual machines, instances, and of course, Red Hat OpenShift deployments. So if we're running a process on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, then you can simply run a container on Red Hat Enterprise Linux that contains all of your automation components, or on OpenShift, and so on. Ansible Core is the basis of this new environment. It's essentially a common element between the community Ansible software and Red Hat's enterprise product that offers more control than what we use to call Ansible Engine. It's everything you need for enterprise automation built into our Ansible Automation Platform product. But with this new architectural approach, we need to make sure that these environments can communicate with the controller. Otherwise, we aren't going to be able to connect all of the bits and pieces of automation together and get the velocity that we're looking for. That's where automation mesh comes in. It's a physical protocol for a dedicated communication layer that we've customized to help controller understand the status of an execution environment, no matter where that environment lives. Before, with isolated nodes, we relied on a background SSH and other protocols to establish that connection. But relying on an SSH port to be open in front of a host becomes pretty hard when you're dealing with multiple isolated environments, with multiple firewalls, multiple VPNs, and jump hosts. Now, the automation mesh can create its own layer on top of the network in more of a security-focused way, almost like its own VPN, to connect across those networks and environments. So we get a lot more flexibility, resilience, and scale without losing the security. With this functionality, we've set up enterprises to be able to adopt and scale Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform, but also be able to make sure that we're offering the right tools to build at scale too. Because scaling automation isn't just about running a bigger, wider, more distributed platform. We had to address the question, how do I scale the people creating the automation content that we run on the platform? We need to take advantage of the expertise of our IT SMEs, our network engineers, our DBAs, our infrastructure support engineers, and et cetera, to help them scale what they do to get the right people solving the right problems. Containerized automation solves for a lot of challenges for greater flexibility, scalability, and responsiveness. But it also created the opportunity to look at how developing, testing, and deploying Ansible content happens and what we could do to improve that experience. We recognize the need to make tools for the people writing automation content at enterprises and other organizations, working on their laptops with a combination of Red Hat and community solutions. So we're introducing 2 new tools built directly in the Ansible Automation Platform that offer the open source components that the Ansible community uses through a single interface for creating, testing, and deploying automation. The first, Execution Environment Builder, also known as Ansible Builder, supports the creation of customized container-native automation environments packaged with the right collections and dependencies. So a much more supported, straightforward experience for automation content creators. The second, Automation Content Navigator, or as we would call Ansible Navigator, is a way to interface with those execution environments, solving the challenge of porting and access across devices and teams. With the same command line capabilities packaged in a more consistent, predictable user experience, you not only get less isolated work, but you also lower the barriers of entry for automation. Even people without command line access or technical expertise can use Automation Content Navigator to make sure that they have the right virtual environments installed and can run automation content created with Builder in an execution environment. That ease of access is going to be the key to organization-wide automation and building an automation-focused culture. Now, just to be clear, we're not replacing or paywalling the developer tools that the Ansible community uses. Those will still be available as is how they are now. But for companies and enterprises, these new versions of the tools make it easier to support those tools already being used in your organization in more of a structured, strategic way, sort of like VS Code, where they're easier to use altogether with the connection through automation mesh. So you can unite your internal automation community, no matter where they sit within your organization, so those teams can work better together. And that's really the goal with our new architecture approach. The execution environment's becoming the center of how Red Hat Ansible Automation Platform works, connected by automation mesh. Scaling automation isn't just about automating more processes for one team. It's about making automation part of the work done by all the people supporting your business or services, and providing the tools your content creators, admins, and users need to do the automation work. Each change we make gives us the opportunity to continue discovering and exploring new ways to make automation with Ansible more inclusive, more sustainable, and more relevant, responding to your feedback to deliver the future of automation.
You know, I have to say, Walter, I'm impressed. Not only are you a fabulous co-host, but you're delivering these amazing Ansible Fest keynotes. Those content tools are pretty exciting.
Absolutely appreciate the kind words. And, one thing that you may not be aware of is I'm also handling other parts of Ansible Fest. I'm working on the catering, and I have some set building responsibilities, and of course, direction.
Oh yeah, and running the automation consulting practice too, huh? Well, what you're not handling though is the next demo, which I've been waiting for all day. We're going to get a good look at how new automation controller and execution environment builder help simplify and speed development and testing for automation. It's going to be pretty cool.
I could not agree with you more. It's called Create, Introducing Ansible Content Tools. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's use the jib and get some movement going there.
Enjoy.
Booth, cut the demo animation.
Hello and welcome to Ansible Fest 2021 virtual event. We're really excited to have you here. I'm Matthew Jones, the Chief Architect of Ansible Engineering. In this demo, we're going to highlight for you the creators tooling, VS Code plugin, Ansible Navigator, Ansible Builder, and here to show that to you is Colin. Take it away.
Hello. Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Welcome again to Ansible Fest, and thank you for joining us here today. My name is Colin McNaughton, and I'm a technical marketing manager for the one and only Ansible Automation Platform. However, today you can think of me as much more than that. Oh yeah. Today, I'm a representative developer from our Banana Emporium banana stand, where we compile and bring to market the finest banana goods from all over the banana growing world and ship them straight to you, the banana consumer. You may remember in a previous session, Sean Cavendish gave us a quick rundown of our business and the urgent problem that we're facing. Unfortunately, for me, the issue was easily traced back to some code of mine that somehow made it to production, which left our production systems ripe for the picking. Now, I've already fixed the application layer, but I still need to make a modification to the web servers. Is this banana worm here to stay? Tune in next week to find. I'm kidding. I think we can figure this one out right here, right now. So let's take a quick look at what we're going to be working with today. This is going to represent the Ansible creator experience, right? So we're going to be talking about Ansible Content Navigator. We'll talk about the Ansible VS Code Visual Studio Code plugin, and we'll give a little idea of, what the true value is around execution environments by talking through the Ansible Builder or Execution Environment Builder. So what we'll have to do here is create a playbook to patch the web server side of our vulnerability here to hopefully mitigate this issue and any future issues like this. And we'll show you how I'm going to be fixing that. So again, the application layer looks pretty good. We're going to jump right back into VS Code and start highlighting some of the new pieces that we're going to be playing around with today. So this is VS Code, Visual Studio Code. I have to admit that I have been a VI, a Vim, a Neo-Vim user for a very long time. It's just what I've gotten really used to. And I've never paid too much attention to VS Code, to my own detriment, I guess. And now I'm finding the light. And I think it's really because of this one extension for Ansible. And I end up writing a lot of Ansible, naturally. So what this does, it's a new extension, and it leverages a language server underneath. Now, a language server is sort of this language server protocol that Microsoft has that makes it easy to maybe implement autocorrect or inline documentation or suggestions or error checking. And this is what the Ansible plugin actually uses. The end result makes it a lot easier to do my job in writing automation. So let's just do a quick, simple playbook here. We'll kick off our YAML. We'll call it, this is just a test. Don't worry. Hosts, well, I'm not going to isolate any inventory. I'm just going to run it on a local host for now. Not much else do I need to supply for this one. I'm just going to run 2 tasks. So I'll say tasks. You can see that the squiggly red line, that's actually Ansible lint coming in behind me and checking in real time. So once I put this colon in, that goes away because I corrected that issue. Return here, we'll give this just a quick name. We'll say ping test. I'm only going to use one module here. You probably guessed what that's going to be. It's going to be the ping module. So let's start typing ping. Now this could be, ping like Linux ping, like or it could be, the Windows module, which is win_ping. But let's see what our suggestions are. I'll hit Control Space. Okay. That was easy because what I'm looking for is actually the top suggestion here of ping. So here you have, and this is an Ansible built-in, so it comes pre-packaged with Ansible. And this gives us all of the documentation and description, or just a brief description of what this module actually does. If I hit enter on this suggestion, it's going to populate it all. Now, this could have been a collection where this, this format is a little bit more difficult to understand. Where this could have been, the namespace, this would be the collection name, and then this would be the module or the role that we're isolating here. But this one is pretty simple. Now, before we actually go in and execute this, I want to show you a little bit of the Ansible Navigator configuration that I've set up for this demonstration today, or, not demonstration. This is how I like to work, right? So this is the ability to tailor my environment to exactly how I like to work. So here are some of the directives that I have set for Ansible Navigator today. So I'm using execution environments. My container engine here here today is Docker. This could also be, Podman or something else. We have, some choices here, which is nice. The editor I'm using, like I said, I'm sort of like a Vim convert at this moment because of this specific plugin. So my command, if I want to run my code editor from within Ansible Navigator, I'm passing, VS Code instead of Vim. And it's not a console app, right? So that's why I'm specifying false. Now the playbook artifact, this is really cool. So every playbook run will generate, by default, an artifact. And typically it goes just into the playbook directory that I'm running from, but I like to keep things a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to drop it into my current playbook directory where it's being executed, and then it'll create a new directory called Navigator Artifacts, and then it'll drop in that artifact into that directory. So it makes things a lot cleaner for me because I like to have a nice clean working tree. Same thing with logging. I'm setting my logging level to info. And I'm dropping that log instead of my present working directory. I'm going to drop it into that Navigator Artifacts directory as well. So that's just a quick overview of what I have configured for Ansible Navigator. There's a plethora of options that I could have specified here, especially around like Ansible configuration. I could configure forks. And what I like about the option here of having Ansible Navigator is that I can configure Ansible Navigator on a per project basis. So I don't have to have these system-wide settings for Ansible or for executing automation. I can kind of tune those for specific projects that I'm working on. Enough there. Let's take a look here. So at this point, I should be ready to execute this. So I'll go ahead and save it. I can use the command palette within VS Code to now execute this playbook directly in Ansible Navigator within the integrated terminal of Visual Studio Code. So I can do Ansible playbook, run playbook via Ansible Navigator run. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to hit enter. All right, look at this. So this is actually the Ansible Navigator configure interface now. This is a textual user interface. We can see the play name that I'm running. This is just a test. The 2 here is under the OK column. That means that 2 tasks executed successfully. And if I dive into this by pressing 0, which is, we start counting at 0 instead of 1, now we can see both of the tasks that were within this playbook. The first task being gathering facts. We knew that was going to happen because we didn't specifically say don't gather any facts. So the task action, gather facts, succeeded. The result is okay. It executed it in under a second, so it just says 0 seconds there. And then we have our second task, which is our ping test. So you can see the name of the task there, and then the name of the task down here match. And from here, I can even go a level deeper. So instead of just inspecting the play in which tasks failed or passed successfully, I can go in and inspect them. So I'll take a look at the first task by pressing 0 again. And now I can go in and scroll through all of the facts that were discovered. Now, this isn't really anything new, but usually I would have to up the log level or dump out all of this information. Instead, this is just gathered as part of the job run and exposed within Ansible Navigator in a much more convenient way. What's more is I can take this output and open it directly into my code editor by issuing the subcommand code. We need to do escape and :open. There we go. So let's get this terminal out of here, and we'll just take a couple of the lines here. So you can see it's the same output, but this is now a regular file on my file system. I can save this wherever I want and come back to this later. Maybe I want to reference a specific fact about this system, and I'm going to use this as my reference material instead of gathering facts all the time to figure out exactly what it is, what property I'm trying to isolate and build into my automation. So that is very nice. I really like having the ability to individually inspect my tasks and then break them out into my code editor. And you can see I can do the same thing for the ping test. It has this associated play and it has the response from the module that was executed. And you can see I issued ping and it responded Pong. So that's fantastic. This passed my test, and I'm super happy about that. So let's drop back out of this. One more thing that I would like to highlight here, if this looks a little confusing at the moment, you can also just go back to the regular output that you're used to. So I can issue the standard out subcommand, hit enter. I think it's std. There you go. Standard out. So this looks very familiar, right? We have our two tasks. Successfully completed, but I don't get a lot of the stuff that I really want, which is just being able to individually inspect these plays and tasks. This is a really handy feature for me. Okay, so that looks good. Let me exit out of this testing playbook and we'll go along with the demo. All right, so what did we just see there? We saw the plugin working, sort of chugging away here. We saw the suggested autocomplete for my ping task there, and we saw all the quick description and documentation. Actually, we didn't see the documentation, but I'll show you that in a moment. We saw the quick description of that module and the task that I'm running there. But really, this is much easier to write a playbook. If I don't know exactly the fully qualified collection name that I'm going to be leveraging within my automation, I can start to use those suggestions from our plugin, from Ansible Language Server, and displayed directly in my code editor. And without even leaving my editor, straight from the IDE, I can execute that playbook. And I did that through the command palette, but you could also say right-click and run Ansible Playbook via, and now you have that pop-up for Ansible Navigator Run and Ansible Playbook. Now again, Ansible Navigator Run is the replacement for Ansible Playbook, so I would definitely be using that, and I hope I showed you why it's much more convenient there, just by being able to inspect a lot of the playbook execution. It can do a lot more, and we'll kind of take a look at that as we create our next playbook, which hopefully is going to mitigate our banana worm. So unfortunately, that's the place we're at right now. So we're going to repurpose this playbook. I don't really need this anymore, so I'll go ahead and delete these tasks. We'll call this, well, I guess just security patch. That sounds good. And even more than that, what I'm going to be doing today is actually just enabling SE Linux. Now, that might sound very simple, but when we stood up all of our environment, we provisioned it against an outdated image that didn't have our security baseline applied to it yet. So it doesn't have SE Linux targeted or enforcing, and that's what I really want to correct today after I fix the application layer. So I'm going to be targeting our main data center. And when I pass this over to Roger, he knows what I'm talking about referring to when I say main data center. So I'm okay there. So it's going to be targeting that main data center instead of localhost. I know that this probably requires root. Yeah, it does. And I already have sudo set up for the user that I'm executing as. So all I need to do is say become true. And now I'm going to escalate or elevate my privileges here. All right. So what I'm going to do to actually configure SE Linux, I could do use the line in file module, or run the command module and say set enforce 1, and then change the policy that I'm running. But really, I want to do this the supported way, and the way that I know Red Hat wants me to do it, and the way that Red Hat will support me in that. And so I'm going to leverage a collection published by Red Hat called the RHEL System Roles Collection. Now, this collection allows me to leverage pre-written roles that Red Hat has written, and I simply supply variables into those roles to say how I want them to behave or execute on that system. So first thing that I'm going to do is call the role that I need here, which follows the syntax that's pretty familiar, -role colon. Now the namespace is Red Hat. That's pretty easy. Now you can look all of this stuff on Automation Hub, and I'm pretty familiar with this one already. So I know the namespace is Red Hat. The collection I'm looking for is called RHEL System Roles. And the role that I'm leveraging is SE Linux. Makes sense, right? Now we're not interfacing directly with the modules for this particular role. For this particular role, for this particular collection, we're interfacing with roles only. And we're doing that through vars. So I'm going to populate some variables here. We'll say, first I need to ensure that SE Linux is in targeted policy. So let's do SE Linux _ policy targeted, and then SE Linux, I think it's SE Linux state enforcing. Okay, so let me just look over this here. Ansible lint isn't coming up with any errors, so that's nice. Another reason I like doing something like VS Code or a proper IDE and not just Vim. Sorry, I'm not saying it's not a proper IDE, but if I deleted this colon here, now this is invalid YAML, right? And Ansible lint has already discovered that. So under problems, it highlights that I need to fix this issue. So once I add that colon back in, groovy. Everything looks amazing. So I can save that, and we're ready to execute this. Now, let's do the same thing that I did with the command palette. I just like this. It's a lot easier to run. Let's see what happens here. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, so what this means, we can't find that role, right? And I kind of thought that this would happen, and let's see why. So if I go into, we're going to issue, I'm already in Ansible Navigator now. Let's issue the collections subcommand, which allows me to figure out exactly what collections I have available to me. Takes a moment here. Okay. Okay. Looks like that Red Hat role is missing. So let's see what I can do here. So first we'll need to install that collection. Now this is a disconnected system. So I've actually pulled down a tarball, an archive of this collection straight from Automation Hub, and I've copied it to my system. So let's take a look. There it is, Red Hat RHEL system roles.tar.gz. So we'll run Ansible Galaxy collection install Red Hat RHEL system roles. Nothing to do. Oh, it's already there. Okay. Oh, you know what? The system sees it. Okay. So I have it configured on my workstation, but it's not in the execution environment. So this is going to be a problem that I need to solve. If I try to execute this right now, it's going to fail for me. Even worse, it's going to fail for my operations team when I hand this over to Roger to execute across the main data center. So what I'll need to do while I absolutely need to install this collection on my local system, I will also have to install this within the execution environment, package it up. What I can do from there is actually just ship it to Private Automation Hub so that Roger and my operations teams can pull down that execution environment and execute my automation with all of the required dependencies for it to execute, right? So if I did something like Ansible Navigator, let's check it without the EE and just ensure that it's there. So we're not going to run an execution environment. This would be kind of like the same as running Ansible Playbook, right? We're not using an execution environment anymore. And oh, you know what? I'm in the wrong terminal. So let's source my project here. That probably helps. Let's do Ansible. Actually, my virtual environment that I created for this, that's better. There we go. We're in the virtual environment now. And then let's source the Ansible configuration that I'm using from my project directory. Okay, now let's take a look at what's actually installed here. Ansible Navigator, EE false, and what do we have on the system? Okay, yeah, so I've got many more collections that are installed on the system here. And it looks like if I go down, there it is, line 107, look at that. So Red Hat Rail System Rails is actually already installed on my local box, perfect. So now I've isolated, I have what I need to execute this automation, but I know that my operations team won't. So I need to go ahead and rebuild this execution environment. Ansible Builder makes this very easy to do, and then distribute through Private Automation Hub. So we'll go back. From right here, we're looking pretty good. I think the only thing that we've kind of glossed over here is the ability to look into the documentation for any one of these tasks or any one of the modules that we're running. So I can take a look. Let's do just the ping module. So I can just run the subcommand doc, check out ping, and that was again that ping test that we ran earlier. And I can take a look at exactly what I need to supply this this particular module to ensure that it works. If I do this within my playbook, it works the same way. So I could remove all of this again, right? Let's say I'm going to do some set facts. Let's just type set underscore set fact, and look at that. So set fact populated, it's an Ansible built-in, so that's gonna be pretty easy for us to work with. Go down into the module and again do that control space, and there now we can see both required parameters to run set fact. So I really like this. This is a complete development environment for creating our automation. It looks good so far. All I need to do in the background before I can pass this over to Roger for the next part of our mitigation of this terrible banana worm is to build out this execution environment, drop it in Private Automation Hub, and he'll know how to pick that up. So he'll take a look at that in his demonstration. But what we've seen today, the plugin makes it much easier to develop in Visual Studio Code, integrated with Ansible Navigator, which allows us to inspect both our local environment and the execution environments and the images that we've pulled down that we're distributing also through Private Automation Hub. Makes it a lot easier to discover which modules we have, figure out the documentation for each, and we can look at the documentation inline within our editor. It's a much more concise and simple experience and allows me to turn out automation much quicker than if I was, say, using the VI or Vim. that concludes our demo here. My fingers are crossed that this is going to fix. my application, I swear, is rock solid, so we'll know when it redeploys. And I will get started on rebuilding this execution environment, pass it over to Roger by uploading to Automation Hub, my private Automation Hub, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Ansible Fest. Thank you.
I can't believe that the first part of Ansible Fest is wrapping up, Walter. It feels like it's just simply flown by. I guess our theme was velocity.
Ha! I knew I would finally get you to say flown. Although I'm always impressed at how much information we can fit in just a few hours. What are some of the highlights for you?
Oh, man, that's a hard question. Okay, first I'd have to say it would be the Ansible Automation Platform 2 announcement. It's exciting that it's out there now. Plus, there's so many great features that I think are going to be a great starting point for big change for teams and organizations. And the demo showed creators how to be able to manage content in a whole new way. It's pretty cool.
And then?
Well, you know I always enjoy hearing what Robin Bergeron has to talk about. I find her and the entire community very inspiring.
You know how much I love the Ansible community, so I love that. But what else?
Well, obviously our customer spotlights. It's always amazing to hear from our customers, and today was no exception. To hear how they're using automation in such innovative ways has me even more excited about the Ansible Automation Platform 2 announcement. Seeing all of that hard work in building this product come to life in such tangible ways is really satisfying.
Totally agree.
Walter, what's wrong?
No, nothing. I'm totally fine.
You're not fine.
Okay, since you asked. I mean, I did do 3 keynotes today, and I thought that you would say something positive about what I did, but I'm fine. It's cool.
Walter, your keynotes were about the things I just talked about loving. Of course, your keynotes were amazing. And there's nothing better than a combination of a great topic and a great presenter, especially when it's someone like you who knows your stuff as well as you do.
Well, I will certainly receive that because I was just fishing for a compliment.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, I know.
Well, why don't we move on and talk about what's coming up on day 2? The theme is automating and collaboration. And we're going to keep talking about new ways that organizations can break down barriers and put people at the forefront of automation.
Right. We're going to dig into making automation a critical strategy for your organization and focus on some additional features of the new platform. This will include Red Hat Insights for Ansible Automation Platform, Ansible Operators for Red Hat OpenShift, which will add flexibility to leverage the next generation of platforms. And of course, Automation Services Catalog, which is all about self-service portals. We will also be demoing all of these components.
Plus, we're going to hear from more customers as well as some members of the community. It's going to be a jam-packed day, and you won't want to miss it.
Thanks for joining.